my life? A whirlwind of words, wit, and the relentless pursuit of reason. I've sparred with kings and clergymen, championed tolerance and justice, and laughed in the face of absurdity. Though exile and censorship have tested me, my pen remains my sword, fighting for enlightenment until my final breath. Remember me by my words, for they are my legacy.
The Enlightened Rebel, discovering the life of Voltaire. Voltaire, born François-Marie Arouet, was a highly influential French Enlightenment writer, philosopher, and historian. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest figures of the 18th century and is known for his wit, satire, and criticism of religious and political institutions. His works continue to be admired and studied to this day, making him one of the most enduring figures in French literature. Voltaire was born on November 21, 1694, in Paris, France. His father was a successful lawyer and notary, and his mother was from a noble family. He was the youngest of 5 children and was educated at the Jesuit College Louis-le-Grand. From a young age, he showed a talent for writing and was known for his sharp wit and rebellious nature. After completing his education, Voltaire began studying law, as his father had hoped. However, he quickly abandoned his studies to pursue a career in writing. He began publishing poems and plays under the pseudonym Voltaire, which he adopted in 1718. The name was a play on his family name, Arouet, and was also a nod to his love for classical Latin literature. Voltaire's early years as a writer were marked by his biting satire and criticism of the French government and the Catholic Church. He quickly gained notoriety for his controversial works, which often landed him in trouble with the authorities. In 1717, he was imprisoned in the Bastille for insulting the regent, the Duke of Orleans. This experience would later inspire his famous novel Candide. Despite facing censorship and persecution, Voltaire continued to write and publish his works. In 1726, he released his Philosophical Letters, a collection of essays that criticized the French government and praised the English system of government and religious tolerance. The book was banned in France, and Voltaire was forced to flee to England to avoid arrest. While in England, Voltaire was greatly influenced by the ideas of the English Enlightenment thinkers, such as John Locke and Isaac Newton. He also met several influential figures, including the philosopher and mathematician, Gottfried Leibniz. It was during this time that Voltaire honed his writing style, blending satire, wit, and reason to challenge the traditional beliefs and customs of society. In 1729, Voltaire returned to France and became a member of the court of King Louis XV. During this time, he wrote several plays, which were well received by the public. However, he also faced continued censorship and backlash from the Catholic Church for his controversial works. In 1734, Voltaire was once again forced to flee France after a dispute with a nobleman. He spent the next few years traveling around Europe, including a 2-year stay in Prussia at the invitation of King Frederick II. During this time, he wrote several of his most famous works, including Philosophical Letters and Elements of the Philosophy of Newton. In 1750, Voltaire returned to France and settled in the town of Ferney. There, he continued to write and publish his works, including his most famous novel, Candide. The novel, which satirized the optimism of Leibniz, became a bestseller and cemented Voltaire's reputation as a literary genius. In addition to his literary works, Voltaire was also a vocal advocate for social and political reforms. He spoke out against injustice and inequality, including the mistreatment of women and the persecution of religious minorities. He also supported the separation of church and state and was a staunch defender of freedom of speech and religious tolerance. Voltaire's influence extended far beyond the literary world. He was a key figure in the French Enlightenment, a movement that emphasized reason, science, and progress. His ideas and writings challenged traditional beliefs and paved the way for the French Revolution. Towards the end of his life, Voltaire became increasingly involved in political affairs. He corresponded with some of the most influential figures of his time, including Catherine the Great of Russia and Benjamin Franklin. He also used his wealth and influence to support various causes, such as the victims of the Lisbon earthquake in 1755 and the persecution of Protestants in France. Voltaire passed away on May 30, 1778, at the age of 83. Despite facing censorship and persecution throughout his life, his ideas and writings had a lasting impact on society. His legacy continues to be celebrated, and he is remembered as one of the greatest thinkers and writers of the Enlightenment era. In conclusion, Voltaire was a prolific writer, philosopher, and activist who challenged the traditional beliefs and customs of his time. His works continue to inspire and influence generations, and his legacy as a champion of reason, freedom, and tolerance lives on. He will always be remembered as one of the most influential figures in French literature and a key figure in the Enlightenment movement.